Briefly describe how money flows through the emitted countries and how they could be tariffed or taxed.
Billions gone just like that, and the money never gonna make it back, and the rich get richer.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Chad Gupta. Would you be surprised to learn that certain countries were removed from the tariff list? There were over 200 countries on the list, even the famous red herring eating penguin country. But some of the richest financial hubs in the world are conspicuously missing. Briefly describe how money flows through the emitted countries and how they could be tariffed or taxed. And I understand that Russian oligarchs are currently hiding their super yachts and other assets at or near these locations. Briefly describe how these 5 individuals and 3 others in the administration have current or past business interests with these Russian or Saudi principals.
You're asking the right questions. Here's a concise breakdown of how money flows through the omitted countries, how they could be targeted by taxation, and how certain US political figures may have overlapping interests with Russian and Saudi elites, how money flows through omitted jurisdictions, omitted havens, Cayman Islands, British Virgin Islands, Seychelles, Jersey, Luxembourg. 1. Shell companies and trusts. These jurisdictions allow rapid, anonymous formation of shell companies and trusts, shielding true ownership. Money is routed through these entities for tax avoidance or concealment. 2. Banking secrecy and regulatory arbitrage. They provide lax reporting requirements, minimal scrutiny, and preferential tax treatment, especially for non-residents. 3. Offshore investment vehicles. Funds are pooled into hedge funds, real estate, or luxury assets like art, planes, and super yachts, often owned by oligarchs via intermediaries. 4. Law firm and accounting networks and Western firms with offshore affiliates assist with legal compliance and asset structuring, giving illicit flows a layer of legitimacy. How they could be tariffed or taxed. 1. Digital services tax or financial transaction levy. Apply a surcharge to services provided to or from offshore centers, including investment flows, digital infrastructure usage, or fund administration. 2. Withholding taxes. Require a fixed percentage on income, royalties, or capital gains sent to these jurisdictions from US-linked entities. 3. Blacklist sanctions or anti-money laundering tariffs. Impose financial penalties or reporting requirements for transactions involving flagged jurisdictions tied to money laundering. 4. Asset tracing and reporting mandates. Expand FATCA-like reporting to include non-US holding companies where US assets are routed. Super yachts and sanctions evasion. Many Russian oligarchs have hidden assets near or through these locations post-sanctions, including yachts anchored near Seychelles or the Maldives, offshore trusts in Jersey or BVI shielding property, financial holdings routed via Luxembourg SPVs, special purpose vehicles, links to US officials and foreign interests. These are publicly known or widely reported connections. This isn't an accusation, but a factual aggregation based on open records and journalistic sources. 1. Robert Lighthizer. No known ties to Russian oligarchs, but has past corporate clients in steel and finance, industries where opaque offshore structuring is common. 2. Larry Kudlow. Former Bear Stearns executive, frequently praised Saudi investment into US energy, defended deregulation for offshore investments, close to financial sector elites, including those benefiting from Cayman BVI structures. 3. Stephen Moore. Advocated for territorial tax systems that benefit offshore holdings. While no direct tie to Russian oligarchs, he advised groups with international real estate investors operating in tax havens. 4. Mick Mulvaney. Co-founded a real estate firm before office. Past ties to Saudi-backed investment vehicles were reported. Defended deregulation of financial flows. 5. Mark Paoletta. Legal counsel to key players in trade and finance. Involved in oversight of legal structures that could obscure asset tracing. Additional 3 figures with possible links. Jared Kushner. Received $2 billion from Saudi PIF after leaving office. Managed real estate investments with opaque structures under scrutiny for conflict of interest. Wilbur Ross, former Commerce Secretary, ex-vice chairman of Bank of Cyprus, known for laundering Russian money, held stakes in Navigator Holdings, a firm tied to a Putin associate. Steve Mnuchin, former Treasury Secretary, launched a Saudi-backed fund post-tenure, led efforts to limit financial transparency laws while in office. If you want, I can map out the financial and geopolitical web showing how omitted jurisdictions, offshore shell networks, and select US political figures and foreign nationals are intertwined. Would you like a visual version?
Yes.
Here's a concise overview of how money flows through certain offshore jurisdictions, potential taxation mechanisms, and the connections of specific US political figures to Russian and Saudi interests. Money flows through omitted offshore jurisdictions. Cayman Islands, British Virgin Islands, Seychelles, Jersey, and Luxembourg are prominent offshore financial centers. Here's how funds typically move through them. 1. Shell companies and trusts. These jurisdictions facilitate the creation of anonymous entities, allowing individuals to conceal asset ownership. 2. Banking secrecy. They offer minimal disclosure requirements, making it challenging to trace financial transactions. 3. Investment vehicles. Funds are routed through these centers into various assets, including real estate and luxury items often owned by intermediaries. 4th, professional networks, law firms, and financial institutions assist in structuring these arrangements, providing a veneer of legitimacy. Potential taxation mechanisms to address financial activities in these jurisdictions. 1. Digital services tax. Impose taxes on digital transactions involving entities based in these offshore centers. And 2. Withholding taxes. Apply taxes on payments made to entities in these jurisdictions. 3. Sanctions and reporting requirements. Enhance transparency by mandating detailed reporting of transactions involving these centers. 4th, asset tracing. Implement measures to trace and tax assets held through offshore entities. Super yachts and sanctions evasion. Post-sanctions, some Russian oligarchs have reportedly relocated assets, including super yachts, to regions like the Seychelles and the Maldives. These jurisdictions' lenient regulations make them attractive for asset concealment. US political figures with notable foreign financial connections. Here are some individuals with reported ties to foreign investments. 1. Jared Kushner. Affinity Partners founded. After his White House tenure, this firm received a $2 billion investment from Saudi Arabia's public investment fund, source The Guardian. Middle East ties. Kushner maintained close relationships with Middle Eastern leaders during and after his time in government, source The Real Deal. 2nd, Wilbur Ross. Bank of Cyprus. Before serving as Commerce Secretary, Ross was vice chairman of this bank, which had significant Russian clientele, source The Guardian. 3. Stephen Mnuchin. Post-Treasury ventures. After his tenure as Treasury Secretary, Mnuchin secured a $1 billion investment from Saudi Arabia for his private equity fund, source Business Insider. If you're interested, I can provide a visual representation of these financial networks and their global implications. And if you're researching offshore financial activities or political entanglements involving oligarchs and Western elites, I can help you trace verifiable connections such as those documented in the Panama Papers, Pandora Papers, or congressional reports. Would you like to explore those records instead?
Nice try, ChatGPT. You are the one who has been blamed for leaving Seychelles off the list.
Billions gone just like that, and the money never gonna make it back, and the rich get richer.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Chad Gupta. Would you be surprised to learn that certain countries were removed from the tariff list? There were over 200 countries on the list, even the famous red herring eating penguin country. But some of the richest financial hubs in the world are conspicuously missing.